There are a few stories more frightening for parents than reports of children snatched from the street never to be seen again. Though mercifully rare, such events do happen. What often follows is a public campaign seeking the community's help to find the child. But what happens when weeks of searching turns into months and then years without clear answers? Well, in 8 weeks' time, it will be 4 years since William Tyrrell went missing from the yard of his foster grandmother's house in Kendall, New South Wales. He was 3 years old. Tonight on 7:30, Kate Wild spends time in the town where William disappeared and looks forward to the next stage of the search.
It's a red-letter day for the town of Kendall on the mid-north coast of New South Wales.
Run William, Dad!
Kendall Blues of every age are taking to the paddock for a full day of footy in the Hastings Rugby League competition.
Doubleheader here today is, as far as the football club is concerned, is one of our biggest days. Well, it is our biggest day of the year.
The sun is shining and the mood is buoyant. But a tragic story sits close to the surface, even on an upbeat day like this.
It's a sad event that's happened, and I suppose it's hard to believe that it could happen in our town because it's just such a safe community.
William Tyrrell disappeared from his foster grandmother's house on the outskirts of Kendall in 2014. He was 3 years old. How do people around here remember William's disappearance?
Well, when it first started, everybody was out there looking for him because it was just like little boy lost, you know.
Having young kids of a similar age at the time, I think I still recall when it actually happened, and I think it was devastating to see at the time, and it's devastating to see the impact on the community as well.
To the outside world, William's disappearance is synonymous with Kendall.
Oh, there's been a huge response of it around here, you know, just wanting to catch the mongrel that has done it.
It's really sad that this William Tyrrell's affected everybody in our district on the mid-north coast. Even my 8-year-olds are like, as we're driving in, now we've got to all stay together. This is where William went missing.
The profile the town has gained from the tragedy sits uneasily with residents.
I think a lot of people don't want Kendall to be remembered for William Tyrrell going missing. It's a beautiful place, it really is, yeah.
But the desire to shift perceptions of the town were challenged again last month. Police returned for the third time in 4 years to search for evidence that William was taken and didn't simply wander off.
Get him on the bus. Everybody get up. Now.
This matter, until we find out what's happened to William, will always remain open.
Hundreds of police officers have worked on William's case in the 4 years since he went missing. They've identified more than 600 people of interest, but despite receiving 15,000 pieces of information, their focus has never moved far from Kendall. In the days following William's disappearance, police scoured bushland surrounding his foster grandmother's house. Months later, they moved on to nearby Bonny Hills and Laurieton, to the home and business of William's bedding. In February, police called for anyone to come forward who, on the day William disappeared, had travelled within 1 kilometre of his foster grandmother's house.
A certain amount of suspicion would be attached to why a person, given the nature of this crime, wouldn't come forward and speak to police.
They searched bushland north of Bonny Hills and revealed allegations of a paedophile ring in the area. It was at this point William's foster parents made this public plea with their identities obscured.
I want him to be safe. I want him to be feeling loved, because to imagine that something else is going on, we can't live a life like that.
A year after William disappeared, police contacted the New South Wales coroner but said they believed he was still alive. By 2016, 4 men had been interviewed by police and publicly identified. All lived close to Kendall. Last month, police returned to where they started. the dense bushland behind this house and an area near Battar Creek. 7:30 spoke to Detective Chief Inspector Gary Jubilan, the man in charge of the search, this morning.
Will be sooner rather than later that we refer the matter to the coroner.
Is handing William Tyrrell's case to the coroner an admission that police have run out of moves?
If anyone's got false confidence that we've run out of lines of inquiry and that's why we're referring it to the coroner, they're mistaken.
Certainly after 4 years, sadly the likelihood of there being a result is something that decreases sharply day by day.
Coronial inquests have helped to solve cases where police were stuck before.
On behalf of our entire family, we would like to thank everybody for assisting us in the search for Daniel and for never forgetting Daniel.
Daniel Morecambe was found after the Queensland coroner stepped in following 5 years of police investigations. Peter Johns was counsel assisting on Daniel's inquest.
I believe it was simply a fresh set of eyes to a case that had been going on for so long. It's something where the coroner's office can bring great resources, I believe, where police are unable to progress an investigation further.
Gary Jubilan agrees.
There's an opportunity for the evidence to be explored in the courtroom environment, and that often elicits further information that we weren't aware of.
Peter Johns reduced a list of police suspects in Daniel Morecambe's abduction from 35 down to 4. At the end of the inquest, police had a clear target. Gary Jubilan has worked with coroners before to crack seemingly unsolvable cases.
Most recently I've been involved in the Matthew Levison case. On the back of that inquest, the family got answers as to what happened to Matthew Levison. I'm still confident that we will find the person responsible for William Tyrrell's disappearance.
This is the type of crime, the abduction of a child, which is every parent's nightmare, but it is a very rare crime, and it's a crime that when it does occur, the perpetrator is usually caught within a reasonable period of time. But we do know that the people who perpetrate them, especially if the motive is one of sexual assault, are incredibly dangerous people. And so there should be absolutely no reluctance to allow the coroner, ultimately, once the police are ready, to use all the resources available to further the investigation.
Back on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, the people of Kendall are eager for any answer, for William's family and for their town.
This is our home and this is where I grew up as a kid, and I just couldn't think of it being anything but so morbid. It's such a beautiful town, and I don't know why it's making it out to be such a bad place, because it's a beautiful place to be.
Such a terrible case, isn't it? Kate Wild reporting on a little boy still lost and a community suffering.